Your phone is lying to you. Right now, as you're watching this, the device in your hand or on your desk is running software that is already becoming obsolete. And Google just dropped the single biggest update in Android's entire 15-year history to change that. Not just a new icon pack, not just a color tweak. We're talking about a fundamental ground-up transformation of how your Android phone looks, thinks, protects you, and works. And most people have absolutely no idea what just happened. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to look at your phone completely differently. Let's go back to the beginning of 2025 for a second. Google had been quietly building something, engineers were working overtime, designers were completely scrapping years of work and starting over. Security teams were writing code that had never existed on any mobile operating system before. The internal code name was Baklava, sweet, layered, and more complex than anything on the outside would suggest. And on June 10th, 2025, Android 16 landed on Pixel devices around the world. No warning, no countdown, just an update notification that changed everything. Here's what makes this one different from every Android release before it. Every year, Android would get a new number. Android 12, Android 13, Android 14, each one brought improvements, sure, but most people could barely tell the difference after a few weeks. The changes were iterative, predictable, safe. Android 16 is none of those things. Google didn't just iterate, they accelerated, they redesigned, they rebuilt the foundations. And they did it faster than anyone expected, dropping the update in early June instead of the usual late summer window. The message was clear. Google is done playing it slow. Now let's talk about what actually changed, because this is where it gets genuinely exciting. The first thing you notice, and I mean the very first second you unlock your phone after the update, is that Android looks different, not slightly different. Dramatically, unmistakably, beautifully different. Google calls it Material 3 Expressive, and it is the most significant visual redesign Android has received since Android 12 introduced Material U back in 2021. That was 4 years ago. 4 years of the same visual language. And now, overnight, everything has changed. Material 3. Expressive isn't just about colors or icons, though those change too. It's about motion. It's about how your phone feels under your fingers. When you swipe away a notification, you don't just see it disappear. You feel a satisfying haptic rumble in your hand as it goes. And the notifications sitting next to it, they subtly shift and respond to your drag like they're alive and aware of what you're doing. When you fling open the notification shade, when you fidget with the volume slider, when you dismiss an app from your recent apps screen, every single one of these interactions now has a physical, spring-based personality to it. It feels less like using software and more like touching something real. Google's designers spent years studying what makes premium devices feel premium, and they landed on one answer: physics. Real-world physics baked into every animation. The new motion system is spring-based, meaning UI elements don't just move from point A to point B. They accelerate, overshoot slightly, and settle just like a physical object would. It sounds like a small thing, but once you experience it, going back to anything else feels stiff and dead. This is what separates a good phone from a phone that feels extraordinary. And it goes deeper than animations. The lock screen got completely rethought. Your clock is still front and center. Big, bold, and impossible to miss. But now the date, the day of the week, and your local weather. Information sit beneath it in a clean, elegant arrangement. When notifications arrive, the layout intelligently shifts, pushing the clock to the corner to make room. Your status bar icons, the Wi-Fi symbol, the cellular bars, the battery indicator, have all been redesigned and repositioned. Wi-Fi and cellular icons actually swapped positions to feel more logical. Everything is crisper, more deliberate, more considered. Then there's quick settings. You know that panel you pull down twice to get to your toggles? It's been rebuilt from scratch. Before, you could fit 8 tiles on a single page arranged in a 2x4 grid. That was the limit. With Android 16, you can now fit 16 tiles on a single page in a 4x4 configuration. You can also choose to display tiles as icon only with no text label, making the entire panel cleaner and more efficient. And background blur, real, frosted glass blur, has been added throughout quick settings, the notifications panel, and the multitasking screen, giving Android a sense of depth and layering that it has honestly never had before. But here's the part that affects you, even if you never consciously notice the design changes. Google didn't just redesign Android 16, they rolled out Material 3 Expressive too. Their biggest apps too. Gmail looks different now, Google Docs looks different, Chrome, Google Keep, Files, all of them received updates to match the new design language. So whether you're on a Pixel or not, if you use Google Apps, you're already living inside Android 16's world. The update isn't just on the operating system level, it has seeped into the apps you open every single day. Now let's talk about notifications. Because Google completely overhauled the way your phone handles the avalanche of pings and buzzes that bombard you from the moment you wake up. And this update is honestly long overdue. Think about the last time you had a good morning interrupted by 17 notifications from the same app within 2 minutes. That ends with Android 16. The new notification cooldown feature detects when you're being bombarded by the same app and gradually reduces the alert volume over the course of up to a minute. So instead of your phone screaming at you repeatedly at full volume, it slowly quiets down. It's on by default, and you can manage it in your notification settings. A small change, a massive improvement to your daily sanity. Notification grouping also got an upgrade. Before Android 16, whether or not notifications were grouped together was entirely up to the app developer. If they felt like implementing it, great. If not, you got a chaotic waterfall of individual alerts. Google removed that choice from developers. Starting with Android 16, notification grouping is mandatory across the platform. Your notification shade is now organized by default, whether app developers like it or not. Google took control, and your phone is cleaner because of it. And then there's the feature that is going to blow your mind a little. AI-powered notification summaries. Think about all the messages, group chats, email previews, and app alerts that pile up when you're in a meeting or asleep. Normally, you'd have to open each one to understand what's going on. With Android 16, your phone's AI reads those notifications and generates a brief summary you can see at a glance. You immediately know whether that message thread needs your urgent attention or can wait. You know what the email is actually about without opening the app. It's like having a personal assistant quietly filter your information before it reaches you. This is the kind of AI integration that actually makes your life easier, rather than just sounding impressive in a keynote presentation. Speaking of intelligence, let's talk about security, because Android 16 just set a completely new standard for mobile protection, and it deserves your full attention. Google built something called Advanced Protection Mode into Android 16, and it is genuinely unlike anything that has existed on a mobile operating system before. With a single toggle in your settings, you activate the most hardened security posture ever available on an Android device. Everything tightens at once. USB data transfers get disabled unless your phone is unlocked. Apps from unknown sources cannot be installed. Your phone automatically disconnects from 2G networks, which are notoriously easy for attackers to exploit. If your device goes offline for an extended period, it locks itself automatically. And if motion is detected that suggests someone has snatched your phone and run, Theft Detection Lock activates and locks the device immediately. Now, Google designed this mode primarily for high-risk individuals, journalists in dangerous regions, politicians, activists, public figures, who are frequent targets of sophisticated cyber attacks. But here's the thing, it's available to everyone. Every single Android 16 user can activate Advanced Protection Mode right now, and given how aggressive mobile attacks have become in recent years, even ordinary people have good reasons to consider it. The most technically impressive feature inside Advanced Protection is something called intrusion logging. This is a capability that doesn't really exist on consumer devices anywhere else. If your phone is ever compromised, if someone gains access to it, if malware is installed, if something suspicious happens, intrusion logging gives you the ability to go back and review encrypted logs of your device's activity. App installations, USB connections, browsing history, system events, all of it stored securely in Google Drive using end-to-end encryption. Only you can access it. It's like a black box for your phone. If something goes wrong, you can actually investigate what happened instead of just wiping the device and hoping for the best. That is forensic-grade security on a consumer Android device. That is not normal. That is extraordinary. And Advanced Protection integrates with your Google apps too. When the mode is active, Chrome applies stricter safe browsing rules. Google Messages flags scam texts more aggressively. The phone app enhances its call. Screening for suspicious numbers. This isn't a setting that locks down one corner of your phone. It reshapes how your entire device interacts with the outside world. Everything becomes more skeptical, more careful, more secure. There's also on-device AI scam detection built into Android 16 for everyday users who never activate Advanced Protection. Your phone now uses AI running locally, not in the cloud, to flag suspicious calls and messages in real time. If someone is trying to social engineer you or run a scam through a text message, your phone will recognize the pattern and warn you before you make a mistake. This kind of protection is running all the time, silently without sending your private messages to any server. Your data stays on your device, the intelligence stays on your device, and the scammers keep getting blocked. Now let's shift to something that productivity-obsessed users have been begging Google for years: desktop mode. For a long time, Samsung was the only Android manufacturer who truly delivered a desktop experience through Samsung DeX. You'd plug your phone into a monitor, connect a keyboard and mouse, and suddenly your phone was a computer. Pixel users watched in envy. Tablet users complained. Foldable owners were especially frustrated. With Android 16, that era is over. Google worked directly with Samsung to develop a proper native desktop mode for Android 16. When you connect a compatible device to an external display, you get a full desktop-like interface, a taskbar along the bottom, a status bar across the top, freeform window support so you can open, resize, and move app windows around the screen just like you would on a Mac or Windows PC. You can even move your mouse seamlessly between your phone screen and the external display. And crucially, this isn't just for Samsung devices anymore. It's baked into Android itself. Pixel phones, foldables, tablets. Any compatible device can plug into a monitor and transform into a workstation. And the multitasking improvements go beyond desktop mode. The split screen experience got a dramatic upgrade. Before, split screen divided your display roughly in half between two apps. Useful but limiting. Android 16 introduces a new ratio option where one app takes 90% of your screen and a second app occupies the remaining 10%. Why does this matter? Think about watching a game while keeping a live score tracker visible. Think about working in a document with a reference app barely peeking in from the side. It's a small strip, but it keeps information visible without breaking your primary focus. It's a genuinely clever way to use screen real estate. There's also a new enhanced HDR brightness setting that lets you manually control the maximum brightness level for HDR content. Videos, photos, streaming media. If you find HDR images uncomfortably bright in a dark room, or if you want to push the luminance even higher for outdoor viewing, you now have direct control over that. And for users who find the new blurred backgrounds visually distracting, Android 16 lets you disable blur system-wide and replace it with solid colors. Control is the keyword here. Google is giving you more levers than ever before. Let's also talk about personalization, because this update didn't forget the people who want their phone to feel like theirs. Custom icon shapes are finally here at the system level. For years, you could change your launcher theme or download a custom icon pack, but the shapes of system icons were locked. Android 16 changes that. You can now choose the shape of your home, screen icons, the outline, the container, the geometry. So your app grid matches your personal aesthetic. And when you enable icon theming, the color theming now automatically propagates across all your apps for a unified, consistent look. Your home screen can finally feel like it was designed by one person with one vision, you. The dark theme also got smarter. Previous versions of Android's dark mode would darken apps that specifically supported it, but leave light-themed apps blinding you in a dark room. Android 16's dark mode now forces most light apps into a dark appearance, even apps that never built a native dark theme. This is huge for evening use. No more squinting at a bright white app at midnight. And as a bonus side effect, forcing apps to display dark backgrounds means less power draw on OLED screens, which means better battery life. It's an aesthetic improvement that quietly doubles as a performance improvement. Android 16, you can choose to have that double press open Google Wallet instead. For people who pay with their phone constantly, this is genuinely transformative. No more digging through your apps or navigating past a camera screen to get to your payment interface. Just double tap the power button and tap to pay. You configure this in Settings, under System, under Gestures. Simple, powerful, and years overdue. Parents also got a major win with Android 16. Parental controls now live inside the main system settings on Pixel phones, rather than buried inside a separate app. You can protect these controls with a PIN, and you manage devices. This is a genuine quality of life upgrade that makes the responsibility of parenting in the digital age just slightly less overwhelming. And for users with hearing devices, Android 16 brought real improvements too. Calls are clearer when paired with compatible hearing aids and assistive devices. The guided frame camera feature, which helps visually. Impaired users take better photos by describing what the camera sees, now uses Gemini AI to provide dramatically richer, more descriptive, more helpful guidance. Accessibility in Android 16 isn't an afterthought. It's a first-class feature that got real investment. Now here's something that matters for long-term users beyond any single feature. Google changed the release schedule for Android entirely. Before Android 16, there was one major Android update per year. You waited 12 months for new features, waited for your manufacturer to adapt the update, and then maybe got it several months after that. The whole cycle felt sluggish. Android 16 launches a new 2-release per year model, a major SDK release in Q2, and a feature-heavy update in Q4. That means instead of waiting a full year for improvements, the biggest Android improvements could land twice as fast going forward. If this model holds, Android 16 is not just a great update. It's the beginning of a completely different pace of innovation for the platform. Controls, accessibility improvements, including better mouse support for connected peripherals, and even more system optimizations. Android 16 wasn't a one-time event. It's a platform that keeps growing through the year. So let's land this because there's a bigger picture here that's worth stepping back to see. iOS fans would point to the smoothness, the consistency, the design quality. That debate has always had some truth on both sides, but Android 16 is Google's most aggressive answer to that comparison in the history of the platform. The spring-based animations that make every interaction feel physical and alive. The forensic-level security features. The AI that summarizes your notifications before you even open them. The desktop mode that turns your phone into a workstation. The mandatory notification organization that brings order to the chaos. The dark mode that covers apps developers never bothered to update. The icon shapes that let you build a cohesive home screen. This is not a checklist of features. This is a coherent, deliberate, top-to-bottom vision of what a modern smartphone operating system should be. Google has been building toward this for years. The tensor chips they put in Pixel phones, the on-device AI infrastructure, the design research into what makes interfaces feel emotionally satisfying and engaging, the partnership with Samsung to bring desktop capabilities to the platform. All of it was pointing toward this moment. Android 16 is where the preparation meets the delivery. OnePlus, Motorola, or any other major Android brand, your manufacturer is working on adapting Android 16 to their software layer, and it's coming, likely before the end of the year for flagship devices. You're either already experiencing this, or you're very close to experiencing it. Go to your settings, open System, tap System Update. See if Android 16 is waiting for you right now, because this is not an update you want to sleep on. This is not the kind of release where you can say you'll get to it eventually. This is the kind of update that genuinely changes how you use your phone every single day, from the moment you pick it up in the morning to the moment you set it down at night. Android 16 isn't the biggest Android update ever because Google said so in a press release. It's the biggest Android update ever because after you live with it for a week, going back to anything before it feels genuinely impossible. That's the real test, and Android 16 passes it completely. If this breakdown helped you understand what's actually new and why it actually matters, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a comment below telling me which feature you're most excited about. I'm reading every single one, and I'll see you in the next one.